Okay, looks like I'm live now. How's everyone doing out there? Just fine, I know. Perfect. I'll wait for a few moments to see how this is working and to wait for a few of you to get in. So, someone please post a comment if this is going fluently. Hey, Sherry and Gloria. Good day to you both. Thank you. And Ruth, hi. Yeah, are we up and running pretty good? Is this glitchy in any way or is it working good? Just a little bit of feedback in the comments will be great. Thank you. And while we're waiting, as for Victor Nahid asked about, okay, great, yeah, asked about the body, where I had said our bodies are regenerating and going back to youthful areas with Femini. So he wanted to see my chest. So there you go. Without my shirt on. So that's a very young body as you're seeing there. So again, this is very real with the ascension, and we do reverse the aging process as well as when um, we are in the higher love. As I said, my face changes as well as Femka. Femka is very young looking, regardless, but she gets younger looking. So it's all beautiful and all good. We know who we are, I and Femka. So everything is going along in divine timing. So with your twin flame relationships, in your divine unions, it's all in coordination with the planetary ascension as well. So it's incrementally released. I'll get back to that later. I just was just checking here some messages. Great, working great. Thanks, Teresa. Okay, Ascension update. Let's get right into that so I can keep this pretty quick, perhaps. So, what we're seeing globally, all of you that watch the timeline that I put out and all of the information. Um, so, what we're seeing globally and very rapidly, more and more people, more souls are standing up to actually resist the control by the governments and the darkness as well. There's a couple timelines playing out, and let's just jump quickly to the highest timeline. And the highest timeline being is the divine plan and the overall planetary ascension, where those that are going forward by their soul contracts into the new 5D, it is assured that they go through. However, there is a transitional process with the physical vessel that many of you have been, already through over the years in relation to, let's say, ascension symptoms and with many, what you thought were many sicknesses, and you come to find out it was just the actual transformation of the physical vessel in preparation for this overall ascension. So, having said that, for the most part, we take humanity to the level where their consciousness does expand to the level that they are above the darkness and the control, and that they take back their power to create, at least the heaven here on earth. So it is all divinely assured. So, from the highest perspective, nothing stops it for what we are. there is no darkness, for darkness cannot exist in our realities. And we are higher dimensional than the darkness. And perhaps this is a good way to understand what the darkness is, where they have the fear and the negativity in them. They are a lower density energy and a lower consciousness as well. So once you uh, ascend to the present level where many of you are at, uh, you are above any of their attempts and lower density things. So, having said that, they don't have any influence upon you. And this is where the rest of humanity, most of them, are going as well. And what I've been given with the divine plan, and sometimes the divine plan subject is, it changes, subject to the moment and without any prior notice. So it's subject to change when it needs to. However, the divine plan at this part still goes forward, with September 22nd being a major upward shift in the global consciousness, and also you can say a paradigm shift will occur and is occurring. We're leading up to that now. So, September 22nd, the crown chakra in the Himalayas opens up, and nothing prevents that. So, in whatever way that is to be done, it does occur, and it creates a consciousness shift in humanity. And then on December 21st, humanity is given the seat of power, the souls away from the dark governments and what have you. So it is a process with this to lead humanity out of the dense enslavement that was there. So nothing stops it, it is imminent. And this is the near term plan. And what I've been given, it's quite possible, uh, what have been divinely given, that on December 22nd, right around that time, the voice of, let's say, Prime Creator may ring out through the skies all around the entire world. So this is very significant. And that's still, at this moment, I'm still getting a confirmation that this is the plan. So uh, in Uluru on December 20th, 22nd. Very important what occurs there. Also, on that period, I will say it is going to be very important on those exact dates as well, to have situated in the tour in Glastonbury for the heart chakra a ceremony with singing. That is important. Uh, Also on December 21st, in certain locations in Nepal as well, we need ceremony singing. So we have these three areas in conjunction with certain harmonics by the female, mostly in these areas on that exact date, right around that time. So this is important, and this is what is let's say, developing with the divine plan. This also creates the harmonics for Gaia overall and the energetic reality to fully support the upliftment. So anyhow, that is the highest divine plan. Nothing stops it. Uh, in actuality, with all of the police brutality and the Neanderthal approach by the police towards the people, suppressing and obstructing what should have been justice, in the old world. All of this is so important to put the pressure upon the people to get them to rise even more. So it's actually very amazing and glorious thing when you see the remnants of the military and the police stand against their own people. It's at that point that the light bulbs come on in the people, and they say there is something very seriously wrong, and that we must do something. So, for example, you look at Australia and New Zealand, in these places of extreme lockdown and all human rights taken away and governed in such an extreme enslavement suppressive way. Well, then, when everything is stripped from them, they have a choice to fully submit and, let's say, die an enslavement life, or to rise and change everything. And of course, what does occur is that they do rise, and everything changes. However, again, the COVID thing is an excellent thing, and it coincides with the divine plan and the great awakening. So, as with, on, let's just jump down to another lower timeline, lower perspective. Many are getting like the flu-like symptoms, and the ones that are not awake, they are also thinking, that, oh, maybe they got COVID and all of these sort of things. So what they do is, they'll actually make themselves sick, and they set off a stream of things for themselves as well, that they may become sick because of their beliefs. However, again, jumping back to the soul contract, everything is divinely perfect. Now, jumping back down, uh, when all of you were awakening, you went through so many ascension symptoms. So, again, having said that, at the time, you did not know what it was. And I know when this physical vessel was being prepared, I had symptoms from every disease that you could think of, and there was nothing wrong. And I come to learn that later when I was snapped awake. So, and perfectly healthy. It's the phase the body must go through. So, and also with the crown chakra opening and the throat chakra as well, you can see that many flu like symptoms may be misinterpreted by those that don't know what's going on. Their pineal glands are breaking out open due to the higher vibration that we constantly keep rising up in. So with that, comes the flu-like symptoms and the sinus complications, and the throat things with tickling and what have you. So it's all because of the ascension, and they're being prepared for the higher dimensional realities. And part of that is the expansion of the consciousness, and it's being done into the physical with this ascension. Uh, Whereas, we raise into the higher dimensions. So, for the most part, all of humanity, 5.38 billion, which is going forward into uh, the first echelon of the 5D existence, first echelon of those timelines in 5D, they are being organically prepared, their vessels internally. And, there's a lot going on with the vessels, but the main area is the consciousness, to get that opened up in the higher state of being, so they can integrate, the rest of their inner work that they need to do. And this is all happening very, very rapidly, because, again, of linear time dates of the divine plan. September 22nd, crown chakra, third eye opening. So it's affecting the masses unbeknownst to them. So, so that's great. Um, So having said that, everything is looking very good. Monitoring most of the countries around the world. Very good in Canada, what has sprung up there, because to take the place of like government laws and government judicial systems, um, uh, they are biased and they will not be like this in the future. They cannot be. So, having said this, where the people are taking back their power and also arresting, let's say in Canada, what we've seen, anyone trying to enforce masks and social distancing and all that ridiculous stuff, you're actually seeing the people that are consciously awake to enough to know what's going on and are able to discern all the information. And these ones are going forward, and they're making the stand. And also, we know, like with Trudeau, I guess he's not even there. The government is dissolved because it's not. It's dissolved to the degree that it's no longer supported by the majority. And if you went right around the planet at this time, you will see that the majority of the people do not support the governments at all because we are in this huge transitional period and the governments as they were will no longer be. And what we're coming to is administrators of the planet. And, it'd be great with this that perhaps the way I feel it will go for each country in the beginning, there will be a high consciousness administrator. And, there'll be committees, small committees, administrative committees just formed for the countries. And again, there will be no borders and none of this as the people take back their power. So, so there is a lot going on, and it is imminent. And it's important to be there for the ones awakening as well to give them more information and the proof of everything that we say, that I am saying. As we know, it's out there in actual written documentation. So the evidence, what you have to purvey, outweighs the illusion what the media and governments, have been given to the people. And we're at such a point where it's so blatant that even really common sense is not required to see what is going on, what has been going on in the world. So, again, with the higher consciousness breakthrough here for September, um, uh, the old ways, the old paradigm is no longer supported and it collapses. So you look at it as an old timeline and you look at a rapture, which is exactly what is occurring. It is the rapture to the higher dimensions. And, much of this has been prophesized and written uh, of course, kept hidden the real truths from the masses in the past. However, there have been many ancient ones and elders that knew of the truth, carried the prophecies and legends and what they called myths forward for this time. However, what we know is that that is more of the truth, and that reality, what was, is the illusion. So, good with that, without rambling on. One of the things what the darkness did with the PCR testing and other tests with this COVID's, it was an uncertainty by the darkness also before this began to how many had actually evolved with their DNA to such a crystalline degree. Uh, so there was some testing with that, and where the evidence goes, it also shows that this corona thing, if you will, was intentionally and deliberately planned out, way before 2018. And all of the proof coming out and evidence fully supports that. So, with that, it's the darkness also coming to that point to knowing that they did actually lost. They didn't want to believe it. However, to satisfy themselves, to know what was occurring in the world, it was important for them to sample or poll a certain percentage of the world population to test the DNA just to see how advanced it had become. Even though, the samples were taken, let's say, from the least advanced of humanity, because they exist in this vibration at this time, it means at least part of their organic vessel had the crystalline component within the plasma of the blood is where it is. However, it is prevalent throughout the DNA in the body. For these vessels require a certain degree of crystallinity to exist in the 5D, and of course, a higher degree of crystallinity to go into the other dimensions where many of us are going with this ascension process, where we're taking the physical vessels with us into the higher dimensions and out of the lower density uh, dimension like the 4D. We are currently in a temporary 4D space. There is no longer a 3D that was eradicated in November 18th to the 23rd of 2012, where a 4D Gaia timeline was created and everyone transported to that to uh, complete the bodily ascension requirements and to also to finish the process of eradicating the darkness bit by bit. But it's done by empowering all of you, all of us to the highest degrees, and that lifts humanity up and leaves the darkness behind. And, in these times, part of that ascension process, there is no death. However, much of the darkness will be left behind through, like, let's say things that occur where many die, and with that, but most of those are the dark ones that do, to just keep it a little bit simple without getting too much into it. So with Australia, as you're seeing, it's very impressive, and New Zealand, of course, and other areas to see the rapid awakening and standing up. And one thing I love about Australia with how they were pressured was the government outlawing cures for the people. So even if they had a virus, the government was saying, no, you're not getting the cure, and if you do, we'll fine you and lock you up or whatever. I mean, that is one thing that you do not need common sense for to see what was actually going on. Now, for the children, yes, many of the children um, were rescued, and it is ongoing, but ones need to understand that the police state uh, is not for that at these times. And very rapidly, uh, the rest of the children will be rescued as we continue forward to the higher light. But at this point, you're also seeing the dark controlled, let's say, law enforcement and military as well, where you're very quickly able to discern uh, what is actually has a heart and a soul and what actually does not. So it's important as well to understand that. So it's very impressive to see the Australian and New Zealand people standing up, as well as Canada. In the U.S., with the election of Trump, if you want to look at some statistical numbers, It was almost half of Americans in 2016 that did not vote for any form of government. That's a staggering figure when you look at that out of a population of perhaps slightly over 300 million, where almost 150 million Americans did not vote at all, meaning they did not support any form of government, meaning that upon the awakening, these are one of the things that you come to learn and become educated on, how the government is actually not in the best interests of the people. So that was a staggering number in the U.S. At that time, 100 and let's say 50 million. However, now for Trump, you've got to add in, let's say, another quarter as well. You got to add them to uh, the ones that wanted no form of government. And the reason why you've got to add them is because they are of the light supporting um, the destruction of the monetary system, the way it was, the government, and also, many other very good light things that Trump was doing with, hitting up the rescuing of the children globally. Also, we need to add in the good parts from the German uh, people and law enforcement that are actually separated from let's say, the bad law enforcement that was in Germany. I believe that's getting cleaned up. And by the way, thank you, Germany, for the excellent protests. Perhaps 5 million may have been at that last one. And when you look at the protest numbers, it's so important. Just because, let's say, you have 100,000 at a protest, just because there's that many people at the protest, there are many more awake than what's there, and they're looking and they're learning. The ones that are not awake, when they look at these vast numbers of 100,000 protests, and they start scratching their head, and they're saying, "How can 100,000 people be insane? There must be something more to this." So then, um, what occurs, it assists with their consciousness awakening. Then they began to dig in deeper and learn more about what's happening. Then they are also presented with more of the truth. So let's say you have 100,000 protesting in a city of 5 or 10 million. You know, perhaps you have 2 or 3 million that are not protesting but are in different stages of awakening and are paying attention. So you can use the amount of protesters as a percentage of the actual ones that are awakened to some degree. And when you do that, you will see that the numbers of those awakened that really do not any longer support the old paradigm are much more than what you're seeing at face value. So it's very great what is occurring. So the amount of numbers protesting are only a slight indication of the overall that has awakened. So very important. And this is also why you're seeing the rapidly growing numbers, because it just takes one little thing for someone that was hesitant to protest, one little thing for them to see or happen, and then they say, "I got to stand as well." And this is also why so very rapidly you're seeing that. And the more that the governments and police resist the protests and abuse what you would call a distinct abuse of power, the more it wakes up. So we are so gracious for that, and we are so gracious for those that divinely sacrifice themselves to be abused and arrested by the police. These are heroes and heroines divinely that does this, and for every one that gets arrested and it's videoed, it wakes up thousands or many multiples of thousands more. So it's very beneficial when we see this. So the Ascension update, everything is going well. Very impressed with what's occurring, and just update on Femini. We're still in Egypt here. We have not got the divine opening to go forward yet. And one of the main reasons we were here is holding down the energetics for the throat chakra of Gaia and allowing all of the truth to surface energetically, uh, around the world. In the last 5 months, as you're seeing, the amount of evidence and documentation and truth that is coming out is really immense. And I had mentioned to Sharon, I mentioned to Femke last night that this is one of the reasons why we are here, and that our work should be pretty much done in this area. So when that opens up, we'll be able to move forward. But as of yet, we're still here with no divine opening. And having said that, I was instructed to purchase tickets. However, divinely, flights were canceled, and that money, what we had purchased these tickets with, is still wrapped up. So, having said that, may need to do a little bit of funding enough to get us going, to get moving forward. And the intentions is to go, towards east to Nepal as well, and then to Australia in December. So what we're doing is just still just waiting here for the divine window to open. Not divinely given the date on that, however, very, very soon, and we're hoping very soon that we will be able to move forward. About a month ago, we were uh, divinely, a window had opened to go to India, but then very quickly, divinely, that was shut down. So something had changed. Yeah, with Edward Snowden and Julian Assange, yes. So as you see, Edward Snowden has been vindicated because exactly, he is a hero to what he disclosed, and no longer can the darkness cover that up, and as well as Julian Assange. With Julian Assange, um, he is so instrumental in, let me say here, in breaking down the rest of the deep state. So, in actuality, with Julian Assange, uh, you are going to be very happy, and the world is, what will come out afterwards. Currently, he is, having a sort of a trial, but I call it a preliminary trial to set up the legalities to position him in a much more prominent place to disclose even more of the truth. So you're seeing this occurring at this time, and of course, Julian is one of the greatest heroes as well of this ascension through the WikiLeaks and exposing a lot of the deep state, the dark governments, and all of this. So very good, and they play such an important role in this, and they are indeed heroes. So that is great. We did a ceremony, four of us, the other night. Femke, Sayed, I, and another important divine one that you'll hear more about later, feminine, and so with that huge ceremony, it was so beautiful, I will say, to have that, because on an individual basis, each one of us had received information on different parts of the ceremony as we did it. So we went by divine guidance on what to do without fully knowing what we were doing. However, as we went into it, then we received bits of information, what we were doing, what we are affecting. And after we did the full exercise, then we filled in the gaps of information of actually what we did do. And it was nevertheless amazing and very fun with that when you're working in the groups and each one, gets their confirmations and what one receives perfectly aligns and fits with another as well. So we were doing great work there for East and Southeast Asia as well as Australia. So there was a lot of divine energetic work done there at putting the light to those areas. So, anyways, any questions on here? I'll have a quick look and I'm right down to the bottom of the comments. Rick Broder says Trump should offer him a pardon then. Oh, yeah, very importantly. It's also, we'll see what goes on with the tribunals. He may also, what I'm feeling is that it may be essential for Assange to come to the U.S. exactly, and also through a tribunal testimony and witness sort of program, there will be a lot more information released to the public if it needs to be. We'll watch how this plays out. Yeah, thanks, Linda, and much love to you. She says, do we need to leave Facebook and migrate to other platforms? With this, I feel Facebook is such an important platform, and the light does control it. So saying this, no, the censoring what was occurring and the truth, the light wins. So I'm saying it's great to be on other platforms because you're reaching other ones as well that are awakened. Not all of the awakened ones are on Facebook. So the further reach you have, it is better. Um, so what I suggest for everyone, no, stay on to Facebook and keep putting out the truth. And one of the reasons for that I put out in a post, the AI, what they have attached to Facebook and other social platforms, it gathers up the information. And what it does, it gathers up the truth as well. So, with doing this and with presenting, let's say, what the AI does, it presents suggestions to others that are not awakened. But when you saturate a platform with the truth, then the AI has to pick up on this because what the AI will do is its own research. And if it finds evidence that these things are really true, then the AI will begin to put the evidence and the truth out to others more than the misinformation and the actual lies and deceit to keep it simple. So it's very beneficial to retain your presence upon Facebook and to keep putting out this truth with it. It has beneficial effects. However, each does, what they want. Yeah, like, Rick Broder says he's silenced by Facebook many times, yet he continues. And, here he is here yet today watching a live. So, no, you always persevere and know your divine power. In actuality, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, they have to do what you say, and you are more powerful than them. And shine your light through. You go right through the darkness, and Everyone, you are above that. And, the darkness, in to keep it simple, the darkness must obey your commands. And to do that, it's a process. However, it works very quickly the stronger you are in your power. So stay with it and know we don't stop and keep a presence on Facebook. But also, it's important the other social medias as well. Keep a presence wherever you can. We're doing this. So there may be that shutdown as well. I haven't divinely been given information, but I did see it circulating in the timeline that there could be a shutdown and things with the banks as well. And what I speak about the new monetary system, this is a given. It is imminent, and I, from uh, my humanoid being here. I wish it as soon as possible, like all of you. And it does get done and it does get integrated with the higher consciousness ones during this period between now and December taking positions of power. We quickly transition the whole society. And to keep it simple, it's an unlimited monetary system where there's no debt, there's no stock markets, there's no profit, there's no gain. It's only a fluent exchange system to keep an economy evolving forward. The old system was a looping system with taxes, interest, inflation, all of these economical uh, garbage tribbles. They are no longer required. And you can imagine with this, as you're seeing now with the protests, the amount of people that it's a simple choice. If the people dictate it, which they will, you had the majority of the people upon the planet want the free, unhinged, open monetary exchange system to advance humanity. So that is one choice. Or remain locked up in your homes with masks on and thrown in jails and not given any money or any food. I mean, it's a no-brainer who is going to support this, and it's done on the global basis. Whereas the governments and countries were part of the dark separation, that is no more. The entire planet, the peoples that are awakening, are becoming one, and there is nothing that can go against that force, including any army. Upon the surface, divinely, and with our galactics that are here, we have shut down missile systems. We have taken missiles out of thin air. We have shut down huge aircraft carriers instantly, and so much more. So, also with South Korea, we have taken out missiles that vanished in mid-air. And let me say, we are omnipotent, meaning that no army with a bunch of tanks and guns or any force against a divine omnipresence. So, again, any resistance to the Great Awakening by the darkness and by the governments is actually futile. So we are going through this very rapid process of the people taking their power back, and nothing stops that. Divinity assures this, and this is what you're seeing. And when you look at it, um, as well with what you would call natural disasters that were occurring. When you look at a lot of these are divinely orchestrated. When you look at the death rates, they are amazingly low and really astronomical uh, for the degrees of the natural destructions that must occur in, let's say, the most dark and richest places. And part of this ascension at empowering the powerful ones is to strip them of all material wealth. And that is part of a powerful divine one's process. And so we are we were seeing this occur as well. So it's all divine. Everything is divinely orchestrated what occurs. Uh, Lotus Flower says, is the new financial monetary system you're speaking of considered the quantum financial reset? Yeah, this is a transitional part of it. The new financial monetary system, it can be actually activated in a day or less. Like right now, let's just say if you had the global majority just standing up altogether right now, very quickly, it has to be implemented where governments and everything is overridden. So that's how quick it can be done. And the quantum financial system is more so what we look at is the dynamics of the digital connected system globally, that through the one system, transfers of money can be instantly sent, within seconds. So this distributes the temporary monetary wealth all around the world and gets, these monetary infusions to very quickly assist poverty-stricken areas and to eradicate misery and sickness and all of these nonsensical things that governments created by the control of money. So again, it's all being set up, and yes, we can utilize that digital system for all. And what you need to know is where the governments and the banks created misery, poverty, and all of these, and many sicknesses by the control of money. Well, we also do the opposite. We use the money to create the prosperity and the freedom of people. So again, it's an illusion for anyone to think that money is limited or needs to be looped. You are the controllers of your destiny. Why keep in a looped, locked system when you can have the total opposite and everyone, be happy? It, it changes everything. So with the higher consciousness, what you're beginning to now and going to see more of it pervade outward to the public is this absolute sense, and also showing you really don't need to show it, but showing how the old paradigm and the old looping monetary system and the many currencies, how it's actually very primitive, how it's Neanderthal thinking, and even any imposition of that or forcing it upon a public is not going to go. Uh, the people, everyone has it within their ability to say, no, we're choosing to go with the unlimited monetary system, which is a very rapid transition. Money will be used to the degree to transition humanity out of the requirement for any sort of money. So you're going out, you're transitioning out of a world of the control of money as well, and you're actually flipping that dark control to the light control, which shares prosperity to everyone and no lack, and it creates the health, whereas the old system created ill health. Through so many of the ridiculous instruments they had. So, the U.S. was a great example of this when they began with the fiat money and the ridiculous, like creating money and the Fed out of thin air. In actuality, none of these governments or any of these banks actually ever had the real money. It's just created. So, we're, uh, let's say, we're trillions of debt, what the government kept giving, the US government kept saying to the people, I think one of the last figures they say For each American, uh, they had owed perhaps about $70,000 in debt. And for each child that was born, the day they were born, boom, they had a $70,000 debt put on their life and existence, which is absolutely absurd. You know, the way the whole economics was set up upon the planet to make ones owe this is absolutely preposterous. The planet used money to better humanity, and this is what's occurring. So you don't have debt, you don't have taxes. These are all ridiculous things to maintain a control that is no longer there. So you don't have this. There is no debt, there is no taxes, there is none of these capitalistic ideas, and they're all gone to the wayside. So every child that will be born, well, actually, any child that is born today is free because of what we're doing with this and freeing humanity. There is no price tag on any child's head anymore. There is no debt, and it's that simple. And humanity can print money to eternity and give everyone the same. There is no one to pay money back to. Money is a thing that is created by humanity, meaning they have the full control over it. So why create a limited supply when you can create an unlimited supply to infinity? So common sense will tell you very quickly the potential of humanity in this moment. And it's not just I speaking of this, you will hear a lot more. So things like Rick, you're saying quantitative easing, that like that is all really BS. And central banks, no, no more of that. And you don't need any asset-backed money. You never had that. The fiat money, what was created with the U.S. over the last uh, over more than a decade. It's fiat money. It was not backed. It was created out of thin air. So none of these old economic policies or even economics itself, it does not apply at all. And everything that has been globally done actually defies written economics that you were taught to believe in school. And many financial experts and scholars and what have you, they know this. Like all of your markets were rigged, and currencies and all of the precious metals, all of that was always controlled and rigged, and more so it was to the extent to uh, keep investors in retirement funds by keep milking them to keep the control upon the people and keep them working for nonsense where everything could be taken away from them in the blink of an eye. So, anyways, so it's ridiculous the thing what it was. So yeah, thank you for posting that, Rick. Yeah. Uh, Linda, I think, asked about drug addicts. With everyone coming into the money and the higher state of being, uh, drug addictions are going to fall. Most of the drug addictions were created by governments with the control of money that put ones into a state of depression and restriction. When ones are allowed to move around the planet more freely and to have a free life of prosperity, things begin to change with that. Also, the crackdown on, as you're seeing with Trump and many other, um, let's say, light regimes of law enforcement around the planet are cracking down on all of the illicit, what they call illicit drugs, but the chemical drugs. So, all of that is going, and it is taken care of um, by by other means that a lot of it does not then need to be directly looked at to remedy it by default of taking humanity and the vibration forward. All of that falls as well uh, by the wayside. So when you do one big thing, it affects everything. And the one big thing is to give the wealth prosperity to the planet, then everything else changes. Sickness begins to disappear, drug addiction disappears. So many things leave by doing this one thing that raises humanity into a vibrational environment where anything lower cannot exist. And Sandon Moo says current economic theory is based on scarcity, not abundance. Absolutely. You keep them seeing them projecting fears into the future, and playing a game to uh, keep ones in states of fear, which is absolutely ridiculous. And we don't need to play that game. We just implement uh, the new freedom system, and all of that just goes. So great. Uh, am I still up and running, everyone? Is it still going? Anyhow, I must check out. I've been on here for quite a bit, and I got to the rest of the list and need to use the washroom. So, I love you all. Thank you so much, and have an amazing day, and love and light. Thank you. Bye now. Thank you, Robin. Yeah. Going.